So, I hope you're having a great day, morning, evening, night, whatever time it is for you in the world. Anyway, what we're doing is creating a little TV screen, or should say, we can start with a big TV screen and then we'll change it. But what we'll do is let's bring in our content. So, you're going to need a video clip for this, and you're also going to need to create a new folder in your content window called Movies. Within your movies is where you'll drag and drop your clip. I've already downloaded a clip. I've using this website called Pixels, um, and they have like a lot of free video assets that you can use. Um, if you type in, for example, horror, and go on the videos, there's a load of videos. I think I got one of the clown videos. I didn't use this one because of the flashing. It's quite cool, but it flashes too much. I didn't want, someone to have some kind of epileptic fit or something. Um, but yeah, there's all kind of different videos. The one I got was by Cotton Bro Studio, and it was of a creepy clown. I think it's one of these clown ones. But they got some, you can see zombie clips, or maybe you don't want any of these clips, and maybe you want to use your own clip. Feel free to do that. You've got horror backgrounds and all sorts. Anyway, I'll leave that to you to choose which video clip you want. So I'm going to just go to my um, folder where I stored that video clip, which is also, I kept that in the actual movies folder in my project. So I'm just going to locate that. So bear with me. Scary game, content. So you can see here in my content, I have the movies folder. And this way I just stored it. So I just know it's within my content, so I don't need to go like to my downloads or anywhere else. And then all I'm going to do is drop it into my content, into my movies folder. All right. So that's the first thing. First, we're going to prepare our media player and the materials. And then next, we'll then create the blueprint. So that's the order we're going to go in. So we have a media file. If you double click this, you can open this big. Now you can hit open. And you'll notice this one has audio. Yours may not have audio. It depends on what video you got. But I'll show you how to to activate the audio as well. But you can see it's working in here. Anyway, so we know that's working. What we're going to do is right click in our folder and we're going to create a media player. So we're going to go media, we're going to go to media player. Make sure I check video output, so as a media texture asset. Yeah, okay. And now I'm going to call this creepy. I'm going to go MP media player underscore creepy clown. Right. And that also creates that media texture for us. And from that media texture, what I want to do is just right click and say create a material, and it's already going to call it get rid of the, I'll change that to MAT at the front, so, and then get rid of the end. Yeah, I'll just rename that, but you can rename that material to something you want. So I'll just keeping it all pretty much all the same. So material player, media player, and then Matt creepy clown. So yeah, we know what they all are. They all got clown in it. Okay, so can what we want to do is double click this. Now I want to change the properties a little bit. So I want the RGB to go into emissive, and maybe I want it to be a really glossy TV. So I'll set this to something like 1. Sorry, 0. So it's really glossy. If you want it to be like almost like a matte, you can turn that to 1, for example, on the roughness. Play around with it. Maybe you want it somewhere in between, like 0.5. Entirely up to you. I'm going to leave it 0 for now. I want it really glossy, and maybe the specular I'll set to like 0.2. And then hit save on that. You don't see any video on there, on that material just yet. If you double click your media player, I want the video clip to loop. So if I double click this, I want this to loop. So I'm going to set this to loop as well, and hit save. And also in my texture here, you can set this to auto clear. So I'm going to just set this to auto clear on the media texture and hit save. Just check that. Um, anyway, you can see here on the materials updated once we've opened the media player. It's updated on the little material icon here as well. You'll notice that. I want to create a second material, so I'm going to make a new material. MAT. So this will be when the TV's off. So I'm just going to say TV off underscore off. Okay, and so I want it to be black screen, which will be just set to 1 on the oh sorry 0 on the roughness. So I still have the same gloss. I have the same specular 0.2, and I'll just set this to black. Okay, and I'll say this is the material when the TV's off, what we want to use. Okay, so now we have our assets created. Let's create our blueprint so we can put this, get this all working and have it working on our scene. So we're going to go to our content window. We're going to go to our blueprints folder, BP actors, and we're going to make a new BP actor called BPTV. Okay, blueprint actor, BP underscore TV, and I'm going to say 001 because you may want different types of TV, different ways to interact with them. Maybe one will we'll do when you overlap the TV turns on. So we'll say, okay, trigger the TV if you walked into a bounding box uh, to give you a little scare. You know, it just turns on and has static on it, for example. Entirely up to you. Anyway, let's start anyway before we do. We're jumping ahead. So what we're going to do is start with just a plane. So we're going to add a plane to our scene. And this will be a temporary mesh that we'll use. We can replace this later with an imported model. Okay, so what we're going to do is rotate this to set this to 90. And just so you can preview, so you can see the actual material. So if I go MAT underscore clown, also creepy, is it creepy? Yeah, creepy clown. You can see you need to also take in account of your, so if you have a square TV, say it's 4:3 and your videos are 16:9 video, say, or should I say 1920 by 1080, and you got a 4:3 aspect ratio, you're going to be squashing that video and it doesn't look right. So bear in mind, and that if you say you're using an older telly, you're making a free, you got a 3D TV that's older and it's a 4:3 format, you may want to crop the video so it doesn't, distort your clip. So this doesn't distort. I'm going to change this to a 16:9 proportion on the scale of the plane, so 1.6, and set this to 0.9, which will give me the right aspect ratio for this video clip. If it was 4:3, then I'll just leave it square. All right. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. So don't say, why is my media squashed? It's just, yeah, it's just the resolution. Anyway, so our starting, we want the TV off. So what I'm going to do is assign that MAT underscore TV off material as on the plane. So you can see, so we have this nice glossy TV. Right, so this is going to be our start frame where it's off, and we have to interact with it. So for us to interact with it, we need to add our class. Remember the BPI interaction system. Yeah. So when we hit E on it now, we can now trigger an event. So let's go to our event graph and let's delete all of these. And let's drop in our interaction. Oh, double click that so not drag it in. What we're going to do is create a flip-flop. All right. And we want to set the material to say, okay, TV off, TV on, right? So we need the plane, which will be what's the TV we're using. So that's this screen, which is the plane. You can rename this TV if you wanted. I'll leave it as plane for now. But we'll replace this mesh as well, so you can see anyway. And what we want to do on this mesh, we want to say set material. All right. Oh, we got two. We don't need two. There we go. Set material. All right. And I'm gonna copy this. So There we go. So we've got two. So one will be off and one will be on. So on this one, it'll be the mat_TV off. So we're saying the TV is off, and on this one, it'll be mat creepy clown material, which is our video material for the clown. And the target is the plane. Right. So A is off, B is on. Now, if we just hit compile, save, and we go into our scene and we just put this in, you'll see the we're switching the material, but it won't be playing the video, and that's fine because we have to add the media player controls into our blueprint. So I'll hit play. Bear with me, I just need to open the front door. Oh, sorry about that, I had to get the door. Yeah, so let's go up to our TV, and if we press E to interact, you can see we're switching between the two materials now. So that's turned on and that's turned off, and it's nice and glossy. So if you don't want it to be glossy like this, you can turn the roughness down. I mean, you can increase the roughness because right now it's set to 0, so there's no roughness. But if you hit E, there you go. Okay, so for the video for the video, we need to control the media. So we want to say play when it's turned on, and turn it off, stop playing when it's off, right? So we go to our blueprint, and we need to create a new variable called media player. Media player, and we need to set that variable to media player. So ME media player, and set this to media. Make sure you don't accidentally choose media play, but media player. And if we drop this into our scene, so we're going to say get media player, and from here I'm just going to hit compile because this is compiled. Please compile the blueprint, and then after we will assign our clown media player to it. So if we go here, now you can see here when you hit compile, this is default values exposed for you, and we're going to assign the MP, the media player clown, creepy clown. All right, and from here what we want to do is say open source, and also we want to say just close. We just want to choose the close event. So under media player, close, right? So when the TV's off, we want to trigger the close. So we just put close here, and if it lets me drag it down, there we go. If we put the open source, so when we trigger the clown material, we want it to open the file and play, right? And we're going to say which asset, which is the creepy clown. Compile, save. You can minimize this. Now we get play. Give it a second. If I walk up to the TV, E. Now the video is playing. And that will be set to loop. So that will loop that video. If I want to turn it off, just go E and press it, turn it off. Oh, I accidentally triggered the phone. Anyway, what we want to do is now have the audio for the video play. Now to add audio to your video, really simple. We're going to go here, add media sound. Okay, so this is media sound, and you're going to assign which player, which will be the media player for the creepy clown, and we're going to drag this into our scene. All right, and from here you can say play. Let's see, is it play? Oh, let's type in audio. Let's see what we have. And play, start and stop. So we want start and stop, right? And I'm going to grab stop. Okay, so we want the clip to stop when it's closed. Whoop, stop the audio, and we want to start the audio. There we go, and that should trigger the clip too. Um, Again, if you want to set the like have a fall off like how we did for the phone, you can create a profile for that. The attenuation, you can create your own profile, so like how we created the phone one. Or for this one, you might want to just say, okay, override, and then we'll just set them here um, inside our blueprint. So I'll say natural, and maybe I'll set that to 1500. Maybe let's say 1200, and I don't know, 250. You can play around with those values. Compile, save, and if we go back to our blueprint, I mean our scene, you can see we've got the radius set up on our TV. We can scale this down, and we can move this around. Um, anyway, place this here. Let's go play. So you won't hear the TV because it's turned off right now by default. If you want to flip it the other way, feel free. So it's turned on and you have to turn it off. If I go up to it, so you can hear the fall off working. So I'm not sure if you can hear it in the desktop capture, but I can hear it. I don't think you can hear it in the desktop capture as well as the same as I can hear it, but I can hear it from about here. I can still hear the TV. When I get closer, it's a lot louder. Yeah. So there you go. We created a TV. So now let's change the mesh of this TV. So let's go. So you can go somewhere like Sketchfab, and you can get a TV model, TV. You can go downloadable, and there's like a load of different TVs you can choose from. You might want to go for like old school TV. You might want to go for a modern TV. I'll leave that up to you. Again, that's entirely up to you and your choice. So if I go into my folder here and Fab, I have a TV folder ready for me to import, and I do have, let me just move this over here, a folder here where I've downloaded a TV mesh already. So I'm going to import that GLTF file, and I'll hit import. And I'll bring in all the mesh and all the materials and everything in. And if I go to my blueprint actor and the TV, we're going to have to relink this to whatever the screen will be, but don't worry too much about that. We're going to go to the TV folder here. I'm going to change this to static, so I can select all the mesh, static mesh, so they're all in. I'm going to say add multiple static meshes, so multiple assets, which is this. If we go to the viewport, you can see right now it's massive, right? So the mesh is bigger than what it needs to be, so I'm going to scale this in, scale this down to a reasonable size, like so. And this is going to be the actual screen, so I'm going to rename this to screen, and we'll just link this screen. So we'll drag the screen in, and the target will be this and this, and of course we can delete that plane because the plane is only linked to that. So we're setting now the material for the screen, so this and this. And what we want to do as well is go into our viewport. We want to delete that plane. We don't need that plane anymore. And on the screen material, we want to set that to the TV off. So it'll be MAT underscore TV off. Give it a second. There you go. Compile, save. If you want to see how it looks, so it will be squashed because of this style of TV. For example, if I go MAT TV, you have to double check the mapping as well, UV mapping, because I don't know what type of UV mapping comes with what the material. So if I go MAT creepy clown, and we can just preview that and see how it will look. And you can see, because of the UV mapping, it's pretty messed up. So you may have to go into somewhere like Blender or something. So we can do that. I can show you. So if you want, there's one way you can do it is you could you could choose to export that asset out from here, or actually it's better just to take the GLTF into Blender. So if we go to the Blender, just open it up. Give it a second. Sometimes I don't know why sometimes it does this, but it might be because I have a lot of add-ons or something on there. There we go. Anyway, let's close this. I'm going to go File, Import, GLTF, and then I'll go to my downloads, and then I should have a TV folder somewhere here. TV, old TV. It was called old TV. There's old TV. There's the GLTF import. And you can see it's huge. Scale this down. Since we're here, we might as well scale it down here, and then we can re-import this. We can re-export this and import it. So this is a bit. So this will just going out of our way, a little bit extra work, but you can see. So if I select the screen itself, and we go to UV editing, and we take a look at that. So that's the issue here. Right. So I mean, we can assign a new material. So if we go assign. Let's see if it, let's go tab. Let's delete that. Assign a new material. Okay, and let's see how it looks. Oh, sorry. Let's put an image on here. I don't know. Let's go image texture, and you can open. And you can choose whatever you want. Give me a second to browse. There we go. Let's see what I've got. I have to hide this screen sometimes because I have project stuff that I'm not supposed to show. You know. Okay, this is a 16:9 image. There we go. And you can see here the UV mapping is not going to work right. So I can say maybe I want to just go from look at it from the front and go UV project from view and select this S and scale this up. And I know because this is a 4:3 screen, so it's gonna crop the rest of that video. Yeah, so that's just one way of correcting the UV. Like I said, it's not the best way, but it does the job. There we go. And now that UV there has been corrected. So you can update make sure you correct your UVs in the actual scene. Now if I go to layout, I'm just going to re-export this back, export GLTF, and I'll put that back in that folder, which would be old TV, right? That's for old TV. I'll just call this. Let's call this actually old TV 1 001. All right, export. I'm gonna just redelete these. So let's just uncheck the static mesh. Delete everything in that. So delete this old mesh. Don't worry too much. We can reconnect. That's fine. Force delete that. Ah, did that delete the whole blue? No, the blueprints are there. Okay, that's good. It just deleted the mesh from it. Anyway, I'm gonna bring that back in. So old TV. Where is it? Old TV. Yeah. Wait, is this the one that just created? What? I don't think I exported it. There we go. File, export, GLTF. Oh, I'll put it in the textures folder. That's why. Sorry, I placed it in the wrong folder. There we go. Old TV. So now if I go into, we can minimize Blender. Sorry, I got a bit confused here. So I'll just delete the the version of Sketchfab one and we just took into Blender. But I'm gonna bring in the exported Blender one, hit import, and you can see now we updated the UV mapping here. And now we go back to our blueprint actor. Where's the TV gone? Eh? BPTV. Can you see BPTV? Oh yeah, BPTV. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit blind. Delete all of these. Boom. Alright, we're gonna go to content, TV. Sorry, I made it a bit more complicated than it needed to be. We want just a static mesh, and it'll be all 4 of these. And add multiple static meshes. Go to the viewport. Of course, you can scale these down. Scale it down a bit more if you want. Oh, there we go. So it's a lot smaller than before. But you can see now, if I was to apply the MAT creepy clown material, now you can see we've cropped it, but it's not squashed. So we're just cropping that 16 because we've done the UV mapping. All right. So next, what we want to do is just to rename that screen. I'll rename this screen. Like your model may be different. You may have more parts. You may have less parts. Entirely up to you. What mesh you use. I'm gonna bring that screen back in, and the target for the material will be this and this. And also, like I said, on the default, I'll just showing you the mapping how that works. But I'm gonna set by default MAT TV off. So that's the TV off. Compile, save, and it should still work. Now the TV's massive. Of course, we don't want a gigantic TV. Like I said, so and let's move this audio so it's more central to the TV. I should have done that in the actual blueprint, but you can still move it around. Anyway, and scale this down. Place it here. Oh, maybe I'll fix it. I'll go fix it, but let's place it next to the phone. We can place all our electronic stuff here, perhaps. Let me just fix this because it's that center point. Go to the blueprint. So I'm going to turn off the static. Go back here. Let's select all of this. Let's see. I think that's probably a bit more central. Compile, save. We'll move this around a bit. Yeah, that's fine. There we go. I'm happier with that. And let's move this forward. Put it over here. Okay. Reset this. Let's change the time of day. Make it a little bit darker. So you notice I added an extra light here just for the phone, but the TV should have a little bit of emission coming off that material. Right, let's hit play. And let's see if this works. Hopefully it just works straight out of the box. Alright, so walk up to our TV. I'm gonna press E. And it's working. Again, I said like what we said, so you can use whatever mesh you want. You can just it could just be a plane. But yeah, just check the UV mapping when you import like a model in. Maybe the UV mapping won't work, so you might have to go into your 3D application of choice. Like I said, I use Blender, it's just open source, which is great, free. And yeah, just do that. Now let's do one more thing. Let's create a second TV. So let's just duplicate this blueprint. Right, we're going to duplicate this one. So I'm going to Control D. All right, so we've got TV2. And instead of the interaction node, I just want this to do on overlap. So all I want to do is add to our scene a box trigger, box collision, shall I say, and I say trigger TV, right? So this will trigger our TV, and if I make it nice and big so we can see, so we can place this anywhere in our scene, and we want this on begin overlap to trigger, right? And then if you want, you could have it on leave, it turns off. So it's entirely up to you, or you can do it once. Um, or you can have both. We can have the interaction as well to turn it off anyway. So let's maybe we'll do that. Let's do that. So let's go trigger right click, add an event on begin overlap. Okay, boom, flip flop. And I'm gonna say do once, right? So actually from here I'm gonna say do once. I only want it to trigger once to be able to turn it on once. And then also I want the interaction node. So double click this and I can still interact with it. So I can still interact with the TV, but also this will trigger it once. So it will either turn it off or on. So depending on how you set it up or where you place the trigger. Alright, compile, save. So now we have a TV that does different. It works the same, but just has the overlap. So you can trigger it with overlap, entering and leaving the area. So let's go to our content. Let's drag the TV in, and we can place this wherever we want. Again, I'll put this over here. Okay. Let's make this nice and big. Now we can see. Just again, it doesn't have to stay in the scene. Just so you can see it. Now I want to move that trigger box, the trigger the TV. So I'm going to select this, and then let's say where do I want to trigger the TV. So let's say, okay, when I am walking up this ramp, okay, the player or the wall, say imagine they walked into the room and you want to trigger it, but maybe I'll say, oh, when they walk up this ramp, and this trigger triggers that TV to play, right? Oops. Make sure just drag that all down. Let's move this all down like that. Let's just rotate it. There we go. It's not perfect, but yeah, just to show you that you can trigger it in multiple ways. Okay, so it's not just like you have to interact with the object. You can have like they can have trigger events. So go over here. Of course, you could still E and interact with it. Turn it off, okay, and again walk up to the TV, turn it on and off, right? Okay, so it's on and off. So that TV is playing, and this one is the same. But however, if I walk over to the ramp, there you go. Now you can't hear it turn on, so maybe you want it to scream louder, depending on, you can change the distance of that TV. But you can see it turns on, and then say I go to turn it off. So I turned it off, and that's like I turned the TV off, and every time they go here, it only does it once because we said do once. But if I was to go content, boom, and say okay, trigger this. So if you want to mess with them and say okay, the TV keeps on turning on every time I leave the room, and they don't realize they don't understand why. It's because that bounding box is there. So okay, walk over here. I'm leaving the room. Why is it not turning on? Hey, oh yeah, there you go. So we triggered the TV, and they're like, hey, someone turned the TV on. Oh, because we're doing the flip flop. We don't want to do flip flop. Then we want to do true or false branch. Sorry. So Let's do brush. Do we want to do brush? Eh. But you get the idea, right? Now we do want to do it once. Yeah, do once, and then we could reset it when they trigger the we could reset the do once. I mean, it's just a different way. I mean, there's so many ways you can do it. I'm just trying to think. Do once. Sorry, this is this is not what I planned. But we could reset this once once it thing. What's it called? Uh, so that turns on once it press stop, so we can say reset um the event here. So we can say stop to reset. I think. Let's see. I might be wrong. It may not work. Like I said, it may not work. Where's the bounding box? There it is. So it's not. You see, it's not turning on and off now. So it turned itself on. Then I go to say, okay, turn it off. Okay, I'm leaving the room now. Oh, it turned back on. Hey? And you'll be like, hey? So you can think like whether a ghost is messing with you. You can make them think that. Um, there you go. And then they just give up turning that TV off, you know. Yeah, feel free to play with that. And we've got two TVs, and of course the phone. Remember, we created the phone, which rings when we're in this area. Um,
It's too late now.
yeah,
I've been watching
but
every.
hopefully that was useful. I kind of got I waffled on a little bit, but we did a bit of Blender as well. So we did some UV mapping. Nothing too complicated. Um, yeah, but hopefully that was helpful. Enjoy your morning, evening, night, or day. Bye bye.